2.
Good evening and welcome to our regular session of Mayor and City Council's meeting for the City of College Park. It is 7:30 p.m. All of our council members are present, so I am calling the meeting to order. Our first act in this meeting is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's invocation will be performed by Chaplain. I got the text message and I apologize.
Alexander.
Thank you. Chaplain Alexander is here this evening to do our invocation. Please accept my apologies.
That's fine, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I pray all is well. May we pray, please. Once again, Father, we come together, Father, in your name. Father, we come tonight continuously praying for our city, the city of College Park, our state, and for the nation as a whole. I come tonight praying, Father, for unity and wisdom to be upon the governing body of this city and all the employees and the citizens. I pray tonight also for our law enforcement, our firefighters, and the city staff, and they return home each day as they protect and work in this city. I pray, Father, that our leader will go through tonight's agenda, that wisdom and understanding will be upon them and the staff involved to make the right decision concerning this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Our next item, additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda.
None, Mayor.
All right. Item 3A, approval of the regular session minutes dated November 2nd, 2020. I had one change on there. Believe it is line 512, I believe. Let me get to it. Yes, line 512. I was the one that made the comment about the public meeting because I was concerned that we needed more. Anyone else have any other changes?
I have none.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved. We approve the minutes as with that change.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Item 3B is approval of the workshop session minutes dated November 2nd, 2020.
I move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is also unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't believe we have any proclamations, resolutions, plaques, or announcements this evening. So we'll move to the remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore.
Yes, ma'am. I have a few comments. One moment, please. Okay, the first comment comes from Barbara Hampton. Let me start my clock. And it reads, while living in Ward 4, I also had the honor of being a constituent while the late Councilman Phillips held the office. Councilman Phillips served well and diligently until his passing. When the mandate passed to Councilman Gay, he stepped into a place of challenge that required him to be thick-skinned and strong enough to ignore personal biases against him because he had pledged to serve our ward, putting our interests first, no matter the cost. Day one to present, he has kept that pledge, bringing new business, securing funding that helped previously been denied, and using those funds to ensure our ward prospered. We began to see beautification to sidewalks and the bus stops and so much more. Councilman Gay, you led with dignity and honor. We all should be grateful that we had and have a capable, committed leader such as you at helm. And Ms. Hampton submitted in addition to that comment. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that one. As I embark upon my current transition, new city office in a new city, I could not allow it to go unsaid the importance of being a resident of Ward 4 under your capable leadership. From the moment you took office, Ward 4 has prospered and bloomed. Your forthright approach to leadership by example has been exemplary. Both yourself and gracious First Lady Pamela set examples we can all be proud of. The First family, always polite, concerned, and supportive, have shown themselves to be Ward 4 champions and advocates for your constituents. It is my sincere prayer and unrefuted desire that the city I love and the ward that has helped to shape me, my business, and added to my life will see another term under your capable guidance. Barbara H. Hampton, CEO, Hampton and Associates. Okay, the next comment is from Jennifer Crooks. Start my clock, and it reads, my name is Jennifer Crooks, and I have been a resident in Ward 4 of College Park for 6 years. Growing up, I have been familiar with this neighborhood, and the park, and the various different businesses and shops in the Jamestown Plaza. I am now currently a Master of Social Work student at Georgia State University, completing a community analysis of the Jamestown property here in Ward 4. Through my analysis, I interviewed residents, business owners, and external stakeholders like Councilman Gay. As I met with Councilman Gay, he informed me of the rich history of the Jamestown community and what he views as the community's assets and issues. I was given the opportunity to hear about his goals and visions for the community I currently reside in. I was also able to hear from long-term residents that have noticed the changes in the community over time. Although this community analysis is an assignment for my class, it sparked a desire to become an active participant in my community. There are so many strengths in both the Jamestown community and the wider area of Ward 4. Community involvement is a crucial aspect to both the development of the individual and the neighborhood. Without a gathering space or resources, it is difficult to engage members of the community to invest and pour their resources that they have into the community. Many of the residents and business owners I had the opportunity to interview expressed their dismay with the conditions of the Jamestown Plaza and the now vacant shopping center. In my interview with Councilmember Gay, I brought this concern to his attention. I understand from interviewing Councilman Gay that the 18 acres resides in our adjoining Ward 2. This is the front door of our residential community. It's under power lines and enters 2 major streets. Please consider use that expands the park, attract visitors, and serve as an economic engineer for the corridor. This land could potentially become an asset and strength to the community if it's developed in a manner that listens to the public's input and pays careful attention to the strengths of the community. I believe this land could be developed into community center that provides social services, specially tailored to the demographics and needs of Ward 4 and the entire city of College Park. This development could transform how closely residents identify and interact with the community. It will provide unity among residents in the city and attract businesses and organizations that can heighten the economic status of the area. This space could be a safe haven for our youth, a meeting space to boost community involvement, and a way to promote healthy lifestyles for residents in College Park. And that's the timer for that. So I can't finish. Okay. The next comment is from Manara Bahai. Start my clock, and it reads, my name is Manara Bahai. I'm the owner of Chevron Food Mart located at 2407 Riverdale Road, College Park, Georgia, 30337. Across the street from our store is a vacant lot known as 18 acres Spider property. We have hope that this land is developed to bring more business and commerce to the corridor. We pay a considerable amount of tax and fees every year to the city of College Park, Georgia. Since Roger Gay has been the council member, he has told us about several potential development for the property. He told us about a 400-room hotel, a community center, and a sports complex. We are disappointed none of these developments ever occurred. From talking with council member over the years, he has been passionate and optimistic about development at that land. He explained that the land sits in the corner of another ward, but he felt the city leaders all were like-minded and supportive of a good development over the ones he supported. The important thing we want to express that certain development will impede the growth of the area. Councilmember Gay works hard to keep large tractor trailers from entering the community from this corridor. What we see is when groups have events at that land, our business increases 100%. We hope that whatever is being proposed, it's commercial development that attracts visitors and adds significant value to the Ward 4 community. I'm excited to learn there may be a development being proposed that may bring visitors and give the community, seniors, apartment dwellers, and visitors of a citywide amenity with great beautification of the land. Thank you and regards, Munira Bahai. And there's one more comment. Second. My screen just froze. Okay. And it's from Miss Celisa Jefferson. And it reads, the City of College Park needs to continue the efforts of installing the splash pad in Charles Phillips Park. The community engagement of Ward 4 is not determined by 1 or 2 residents, but through a total consensus of all residents, and the children and family development in the City of College Park matters. It's appalling that we elected a mayor and a biased council which do not put all citizens' improvement of our quality of life as first priority. The current state of economic development in Ward 4 is 0. And for this mayor and biased alliance council members to continue to practice of ignoring the residents in Ward 4 is a travesty. What we have gained under this mayor's weak and lack thereof leadership, higher taxes, higher utility rates, and debt. There has been no improvement since the last mayor corrupted regimen, and still the same practices are continuing against Ward 4. We are tired of the discrimination, bias, and alliance council practices. Ward 4 wants our splash pad and to expand Charles Phillips Park into Ward 2, 18 acres, into a conservatory park. For once, try to do the right thing by the single Black mothers and fathers in our community and rid yourselves of your bias against our community. Black Families Matters, Ms. Jefferson, Ward 4 community stakeholder. And those are all the comments that were submitted for to be read into the record. We did have 2 individuals to sign in, Ms. Louise Harris and Mr. Kenneth Anderson.
Mr. Hicks, is Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am, I don't see either one of them. There's a cell number here that's unidentified, but Ms. Harris or Mr. Anderson, neither one of them are online. We do have other callers here that have raised their hand, but those 2 that were noted are not here.
Okay. All right, then we will go to 1 minute for the individuals who wish to speak, who have not had an opportunity to speak or send in a public comment. So how many people do we have, Mr. Hicks?
We've got 3.
Okay, all right.
Mrs. Muhammad.
Can you hear me? This is Stanley Muhammad. Can
Yes,
I be
sir.
heard?
We can hear you. You have 1 minute.
Well, I had 2 people lend me their minute. Is that permissible? Ms. Muhammad and Mr. Muhammad.
Not at this time, sir, just 1 minute.
Okay, greetings, Mayor and Council. I want to oppose the renewal of the contract of Chief Williford, who have not demonstrated cultural diversity. And I personally experienced under his tyrannic leadership injustice. And I'm asking the council and mayor to choose a police officer that reflects the majority of College Park, which is Black, and look around the country and see all the white police brutality going on and ask yourself the question, do you want College Park to reflect what's going on around the country, such as a George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, a Breonna Taylor, and the injustice that we see all over the country? He's not qualified. He does not have a degree, as the policy requires all Black chief officers, police officers, require a degree. Why are you allowing a white officer who is racist in nature to be able to be over the city of College Park, majority Black? Shame on the mayor and council if you continue this contract. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And by the way, I love puppies. I did some early shopping this year. One for you, one for me. I love it. Yeah. One for you, one for me. I love it. Oh, actually, that was supposed to be for me. I love it. And I love it.
Mr. Hicks, is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
There are two other people here. They've been unmuted. There's Ashley Holt, and then there's a 403090919 in that order, please.
Okay. Ms. Holt? Mr. Hicks, I can hear your television in the background. If you wouldn't mind muting that. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's Liz. We were looking to rezone our property.
Yes, and we will get to that.
Oh, okay.
So just sit tight on that. Is there anyone else who, if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and mute yourself for the time being? Oh, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for 1 minute who did not sign up before? Mr. Hicks, do you see anyone?
We have 403090919. I've unmuted that caller, but okay, they're unmuted now.
This is McQuarrie. I'm just listening to the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Deputy Chief McQuarrie.
Hi, Deputy Chief. Good. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
All right.
Madam Mayor, that is it.
Okay, then. All right. Well, we will move forward. We're on other business. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Moore in regard to recently adopted ordinances and resolutions?
No.
All right. Now we're with Liz Holt. We are having a public hearing right now to consider the rezoning of 2154 Rugby Avenue from R1 low density residential to R2 medium density residential. And so I will turn this over to our city planner, Michelle Alexander.
Evening. This property located at 2154 Rugby Avenue is seeking a rezoning in order to divide a large lot into 2 lots. And to do so, they need the change in zoning. The division of the lot will comply with all of the regulations of the zoning district for the R2. It is compatible with surrounding properties, which include along the street, both R1 and then to the rear and across the street R2s. And then also across the street towards the west, there is some multifamily. So Planning Commission recommended approval. We did recommend a condition based on city engineer's comments about the location of the drive that is proposed. So the condition reads that that has to be approved by city engineer, should you agree to grant their request.
All right. I know the applicant is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you wish to add anything?
Well, we've retired. And so we're going to move, and it's a nice property. It'll really improve the property values around here. And we love it here, but it's time to go to the beach.
And we will miss you.
Thank you.
So At this time, I will go ahead and declare the public hearing open. If you wish to speak on this topic, if you go to our homepage and you go to departments and you go to city clerk, then you go to, is it agendas and minutes, Ms. Moore?
It is.
Yes. If you go to agendas and minutes and then go to council agendas and pull up our, I'm sorry, is it, walk me through it, please. You know it better than I.
Okay, you were there. You were right there knocking on the door of it. But if you go to, I'm trying to get there, so I'm making sure I'm saying the right thing. City clerk, agendas and minutes, council agendas, and then you're going to click on 2020 and select the council meeting for November 16th, 2020. In that agenda item is a link, but also our lovely communications department put the information on the front page of the website. So if you just go to College Park GA, click on meeting of College Park Mayor and Council right there on the front page, it has the link to public hearing right there.
That is so much easier than
It is
the route that I was suggesting, and I appreciate that.
To Gerald and Mahershala for that.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you wish to make a public, if you wish to add to that, to the discussion in this public hearing, when you get on, if you just go ahead and you could raise your hand and we will acknowledge you and give you the opportunity to speak on this particular issue. The link has also been provided on our social media links. So there are lots of ways to access it. Mr. Hicks, do you see anyone who wishes to speak?
No, ma'am, I do not.
All right. We'll give people a few more minutes.
Mrs. Muhammad had her hand raised. I assume that was for the citizen remarks a moment ago, so I lowered the hand.
Okay.
No, it's actually for the public hearing. This is Stanley Muhammad.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, as long as the comments are germane to this particular issue, feel free, you have the floor.
Of course, Mayor. I want to just ask, this is Ward 1, and it sounds like the request of this couple, which Ward 1 seems like they always get special privileges. And it sounds like the request is subjective in not looking out for the interest of the entire city. And I don't think that there's enough information available for us to make a real sound decision. Why should we rezone our city for a couple who decides to move out of our city to a beach? And then here we are, as majority Black people, we make basic requests that gets ignored by council and mayor. But this couple seems privileged that they get on the agenda and they want to rezone for their personal reasons. And then you're not telling us why should we rezone it as a whole, and they're leaving the city. They no longer want to be a resident of College Park, but you want to rezone it for them, and then they leave. Who benefits?
Thank you for that. I just want to let you know that the agenda packet is available online, and so all the information that accompanied this particular application is available for the public to view prior to the meeting at through our clerk's through the city clerk's tab on our website. So,
I'm asking a question, man. Mayor,
Information is available on collegeparkga.com. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the public hearing? Mr. Hicks, do you see anyone else?
No, no one else has raised their hand at all.
Okay. All right. I'll declare the public hearing closed. Any of the council members wish to add anything or have any questions regarding this?
I just had a question that said here, the city engineer will approve the driveway options. Have we looked at the driveway options yet? Or will that be done at a later date?
Yes, they have, the application came with a proposal, but that is just the conceptual plan. And the proposal was what raised the city engineer's comment to say she needs to see essentially revised drawings to make sure that when they come in for their permit, that the city engineer is satisfied that the driveway location is safe and appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
So the alternative, to my understanding, we don't have an alternative, just that the city engineer wants to see it when they're ready to actually move for permitting in order to approve those options, to approve what they propose.
Ms. Alexander, can you highlight the process by which this came before us? Because I certainly don't want the impression to be that strings were pulled to make this happen.
Sure. And I don't know if Chevelle, if it's possible to, if you have the agenda packet to show the application, excuse me, the city planner staff report, that might help too, just to show the location and the proposed zoning surrounding it, if that's possible. But meanwhile, right, so an applicant comes in and they're required to have a pre-application. That is, they meet with the city planner to see if their property is even eligible to be approved, if they would even possibly meet the criteria. And there's a series of criteria in the code. If that's accepted, the application comes in, it's reviewed across staff that need to review it and comment. It has, it becomes advertised. That is, a sign is posted both on the property, in the newspaper, and letters are sent to adjacent property owners to make them all aware of this petition. And that first public hearing takes place before the Planning Commission. So that body deliberates, the community, any of the public can come and speak for or against and state their reasons. And the Planning Commission uses that information to make their recommendation along with the staff report. And then from there, it's advertised again so that the city council public hearing is made available to the public. And that, if you could, yeah, let's see. Yeah, so I think that shows, the reason I asked to show that, thank you so much, Shavela, to show that is, you see the darker yellow where it says R2, that's all the 50-foot lots that are in the rear adjacent to the subject property, which is on the corner with a little yellow star highlighting it. And you see that the adjacent part, both the properties behind it and the adjacent property would, be compatible with that size. So as a city planner, we look at things like lot size, compatibility, is the use appropriate, is the design appropriate, and those sort of criteria when we evaluate and make our recommendation to you all. And so the public hearing is advertised, it's available on the webpage, and anyone can always call the city planner and we can talk through any of the cases so you're informed. And then like tonight, you have the public hearing to comment and for you all to deliberate.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for walking us through. And in this case, the Planning Commission did go ahead and recommend approval of this. Is
They
that correct?
recommended approval, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Any members of council have any questions?
No, I've gotten all my questions answered.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Hearing no other questions, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, that is unanimous. We'll move on to item 8A. It's consideration of an action on a request for approval of a contract for services for the design of the bridge to cross Camp Creek tributary between Yale and Columbia Avenue within the 6 West development. Is this going to be Mr. Myers?
Mr. Jones will kick it off, and then Mr. Myers will fill in with any questions, address any questions.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here before you this evening to get approval to move forward with design services for a bridge within the 6 West development. As you know, there's a 5K trail within the 6 West development, and the major ingress egress to the 6 West development is Road Street, which will intersect Camp Creek Parkway. With so much traffic coming in and out of that particular area, the design for the 5K trail was actually going to travel over Road Street, which in my opinion would be somewhat would be dangerous for pedestrians. So what we have done is we have programmed in a bridge that would actually cross the tributary, which is called Camp Creek Tributary, and so that pedestrians will be able to walk underneath the bridge and continue along the trail. Back in winter of 2019, Jackson Myers and I put out an RFP for on-call engineering services. There was 13 groups that actually applied, and there were 4 groups that made the cut as far as on-call engineering services. Out of those 4 organizations, Jackson Myers and I put out an RFP for 6 West Design Services. Out of the 4 firms that we put the RFP out to, there was 3 firms that actually submitted a proposal. Within your packet, you'll see within the bid tabulation sheet, you'll see that the 3 companies that actually provided bids for the work. And Jackson Myers and I, staff, we are suggesting and recommending that we move forward with Kimley Horn for design services for the 6 West Bridge. We're here to address any questions that you might have.
And I'm sure there will be some. I have a couple, but I will open it up to the group.
I have several, Mayor. Why don't you go ahead and ask yours?
Well, mine is about the elevation of that bridge and how we're planning for is it the 10-year flood? We're doing it for the 10-year flow, but it seems to me that we seem to be having all of these exceptional events that everyone keeps on saying is a 100-year flood or a 500-year flood. If you look at some of the things that have been happening in the Midwest this past spring, and certainly, is the 10-year plan enough?
Basically, I guess I'll answer that.
Okay.
So with that being said, right now it's 3 culverts, concrete and metal culverts that go Road Street flows over. So what we're looking at, that once we build the bridge, we can remove those 3 culverts. And as I've been here 16 years, I have not seen that culvert overflow or anything, so it's never flooded Road Street. But with that being said, downstream that we have a golf course has a detention pond down there, which we've been utilizing. So we don't feel that there's going to be a raise in elevation because we're taking out the 3 culverts.
Okay, and it's my understanding that based upon these changes, we are going to increase the, oh, okay. I'm getting a message from
Yeah, Mike Liddell says it's going to be above the 100 year.
100-year flood. Okay. We can bring him into the conversation, Mr. Hicks, if you don't mind.
Mayor, if I can jump in for a second on this one.
Sure.
I had similar question. But there are talk about issues with the crossings downstream.
Right.
And opening up these 3 culverts means that the water can pass through more freely. And I think that is more of the area of concern than at this bridge itself.
I was getting to that. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm glad that you and I share that, but you can go ahead and take that.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm passing the ball to you. Run with it.
Okay. So what do we do about that? And that came into a question that I had about the no rise condition must be obtained on the property downstream. And that said, well, if it's infeasible, that it would not be. No, well, let me see if I can pull up my comment. I wasn't quite prepared to jump in at this point, which is probably why I shouldn't have. Yeah, on packet page 85, the hydrologic and hydraulic approach. And it says there, local regulations stipulate that no rise conditions must be obtained for all floodplain encroachments. However, due to the nature of the proposed project, meeting no rise conditions may not be feasible. And it has to do with downstream and so forth. The answer was that the proposed bridge will provide more conveyance. 2 existing crossings down below and a storage facility are located downstream. An analysis of the downstream conditions will be required to quantify the impact of the proposed replacement of the downstream structures and facilitate a proposed bridge layout that will not have negative impacts on the downstream structures and properties. So that's the answer that I got from them, and I paraphrased it. But that still doesn't answer my question. It still sounds like we can have impact downstream, and that means more cost, presumably. Can anybody comment on that?
Well, that's the, I mean, it's going to be the nature of what those impacts will be downstream. If that's down, towards the golf course, that would just need to be documented in the map revision with FEMA. I'm sorry, this is Mike Lobdell with Kimley Horn.
Yeah.
I should have opened with that.
Okay, Mike. So is there a cost impact on that? Is there a governmental? Is it just as simple as saying, hey, we just documented, these crossings are going to flood out? Or do we say, no, we got to build the crossing higher, or what?
I mean, the fee for the review with FEMA would be around $6,500 to $8,000. I mean, documenting that's going to be part of the hydraulic study that we're doing, and that's doing it per the city's guidelines.
Right. Yeah, and you gave me those numbers later on, but that's all that's required. We don't need to worry about the fact that we're going to overflow the crossing or what have you.
Well, that's what we need to look at downstream, as to where, at the point where it goes underneath Camp Creek Parkway. That's what we would need to determine.
Well, but what I'm trying to get at is, do we have any idea at this point of what the financial impact? For example, do we have to dig up Camp Creek Parkway and put more capacity for flow underneath that?
It would probably be.
Is that a possibility?
Digging up, no, I mean, not digging up Camp Creek Parkway, but maybe finding detention within either above the bridge or downstream to to mitigate whatever that would be.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is, I don't want a big surprise later on in this project and that we have to spend $2 million to do something major at Camp Creek.
Right.
Camp Creek, the road.
Understandable. I mean, we won't be able to know that until we actually do the modeling itself. I mean, there's, I guess, to mitigate that risk of, you know, spending the money to get the design and then find out that the modeling doesn't work. You know, we would start off with modeling first and make sure that, you know, we would have all that identified before we move on. So it wouldn't be a case of designing the entire project and then surprising you at the end.
Okay,
That's good.
That's where I'm going. You identify the critical points and you take care of them first, so you know what the rest impact on the rest is. And that's what how soon are you going to have that done, assuming we let this contract?
Well, that would be I mean, obviously the first order of business. So that was probably about a 6-week process to get that modeling done.
Okay, so first of the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Back to you, Mayor.
All right. Any other members of council have any questions?
I had one question. You all talked about a 2-lane, making it 2-lane and then expanding into 4-lane.
That's correct.
Can you explain the reasons why we just don't do it 4 at one time, or is it going to cost us more money, or?
Cost us more money, and 2-lane is what's what we coming off of Camp Creek Parkway or going to Camp Creek Parkway north or south. And the bridge is designed to be able to add additional lane as the development grows. But we felt that it would be better to save the money up front when we come up. We haven't even come back and asked for construction costs yet, but once we come back for construction costs, then we could talk about the additional 2 lanes. But right now we were trying to hold down the minimum cost and satisfy the potential land buyers, purchasers, developers.
Yeah, Ken, if I looked through the documents pretty carefully, and it sounds to me like what they're saying is they're really going to build half a bridge.
Right.
In other words, they are going to have the crown, the high part of the road will be in the center, so it will slope to the east. And then they will, let's say, I think it's to the east. And then as traffic demand goes up and more action goes on, they'll knock out the wall, the parapet on the west side of the bridge, let's say, and they will then build the other half with the sloping down to the west.
Yeah, I just wondered how much more it would cost us to do another lane rather than do 4 right now. But I realize with money short, we might just do the 2-lane right now.
Yeah, well, that's all we agreed to in the past, was to bring in 2 lanes to start. And it's a cash flow issue. And it looks to me like the cost is not going to be, it's not like we're going to be tearing the bridge apart and throwing away work that we've done. It might be more cost effective to build the whole thing at one time, but it's not removing the parapet, I don't think, is a major thing. I'm not a bridge designer, but just from the looks of it.
This is sort of a process question. I have to rewind, but is it, I know this RFQ was solicited to our on-call engineering, on-call engineering firms. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any issue that this did not go out broader? Like a bid process, like our traditional process, didn't happen?
I'll let Jackson speak to
that. We did a process where we advertised through the purchasing department, which I told just got through email, and that we picked these firms so we would save the city time and the city money by not having to keep spending money on advertising. And so then we came back and asked the mayor and council for permission to pick these engineering firms so that we could go and use the Brooks Act and be able to talk to them, and came up with the best price by what we needed to go forth and do with the new 6 West. And with that, we negotiated the best deal.
Mr. Denmark, we're good legally.
Yes, ma'am. I think we're good.
All right. That's what I needed to hear. Just always like to check that legal box. Anyone else have any other questions?
Okay.
Well, I have more along the line.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. So on packet page 88, the top paragraph, it's assumed that the meetings required on subsequent phases of the project are not included in the estimated fee provided. And my question was, doesn't that mean that future development phase engineering to support those meetings is also not included in the price? And that's the answer that I read. It says, yes, that's the case. And that may be obvious to everybody, but I think we ought to be aware of that. And then at the bottom of the page, it says this scope does not include detailed surveys for protected species and cultural resources. Compensatory mitigation scope for this task involves the use of a mitigation bank. And I asked, what are the ballpark costs for surveys and mitigation bank credits that might be needed? And it turns out that the answer is that further studies are not anticipated despite that concern. These types of detailed surveys are not anticipated. Since a bridge crossing is proposed, compensatory mitigation is not anticipated and would be unusual. So we appear to be good on that.
That's because we're already crossing in a stream right now.
We're already crossing the stream right now.
Yeah,
in any
we're already
event.
in the stream.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the next question I had, I got a satisfactory answer to. There's no point in going through that. And the one thing though that I didn't really get an answer to is on packet page 93. I got an answer, but it didn't seem to quite answer the question. And it's the chart in the middle where we talk about the costs. And the costs of the first 5 items are $261,000 if I added them up. So my question was, how much could this cost be expected to increase based on adverse findings that require additional study? And the answer to that question was about $8,000 for the coordination with FEMA. And then another coordination study would be, the environmental study would be about $10,000. But is it likely that there will be an environmental study? Can Mike answer that?
Yes, this is Mike Lobdell again. Yeah, we don't anticipate it. That was something that, we did look in as part of the economic development grant when we were putting that together this summer, is we did do some environmental screening. So these same guys on the staff are very familiar with the 6 West site, and so they really don't foresee any protected species being in there or anything additional out of the ordinary than that's other than what's already included in this proposal.
Okay, good. My next question is on packet page 96. Item 4 at the bottom, the third line, I guess it is, payment of each invoice will be due within 25 days of receipt. The client shall also pay any applicable sales tax. And so my question, and maybe it isn't for Mike, maybe it's for the city attorney, will sales tax be required? And the answer that I got from Kimberly Horn was, well, that no sales tax will be on the invoice. But if we recall, when we were building the arena, we had some issues with sales tax. And so my question is, do we have to pay the sales tax regardless of whether it's on the invoice?
But wasn't that in regard to materials though?
With the arena, I think it was material.
Because I mean, we're paying for a service here.
Yes, it was.
I'm just asking the question.
Fair enough.
Ladies and gentlemen. Taxes on materials for services, no.
No tax on services. Okay.
Exactly right.
And the last question I asked, and I like the answer I got to it. It says on the next page, packet page 97, the consultant electronic files and source code remain the property of the consultant and shall be provided to the client only if expressly provided in this agreement. And my question was, well, do we get the electronic files then? And of course, what I'm getting at is, are we going to be charged for them, or can we just get them and replicate them as we need to do? And the answer was that they would be included at no additional cost. So those are my questions.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8B is consideration of an action on a request for approval of a one-year extension of the current annual contract agreement with Utility Services Incorporated for the City of College Park's 2 elevated water tanks located at West Fayetteville Road and Charlestown Drive.
I'm going to move to approve.
Is there a second?
I have second, but I have a question.
All right. Councilman Allen, the floor is yours.
Okay. I wasn't here last year, but was the amount about the same last year, or is it more or less this year?
It's less this year, actually.
Oh, that's always good.
And last year, when they did the examination, were there any concerns? Did they have any findings?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
That's the 2 that I had.
All right. Anyone else have any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 10A is consideration of an action on revisions to the city ordinance post-development stormwater management for new development and redevelopment to improve the city's ability to control the quality and quantity of stormwater runoff discharge from development. I believe, Ms. Washington, this would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, it is. This is a mandatory update required by the Metro District, which is the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District. And in December of 2009, they updated their model ordinance, and the city has to comply with their requirements. And this is basically helping to improve the stormwater runoff and water quality for the city.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Washington?
This doesn't change anything with 6 West that we're working on, correct?
Well, it does include regulations for linear transportation projects to bring them into compliance. Usually it's site development projects that have to comply with stormwater, but it does offer feasibility opportunities and alternatives. So it applies to 6 West.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilman.
Ma'am, we went on a site visit, Public Works Director and Stormwater Director, a couple weeks ago, and we visited about 4 tributaries in our city, well, in Ward 4. Will this study by any chance address all of the water tributaries or creeks in the city? Because the biggest issue is that all of the residents were told, we have to go back and check to see if we are responsible for this body of water.
Well, the city is responsible for the runoff, both the quantity and the quality. So it depends on the actual, creek or whatever that we could take a look at.
So this revision to the redevelopment will address all of the creeks where stormwater is channeled?
Yes, all stormwater has to be addressed. The runoff and the water quality.
Is Mike Mason on the line, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Can you help me with my question and what?
I think this ordinance is related to development, that people got to use, if I'm building an office building, parking lot, shopping mall, any of the stormwater runoff they have to put in measures to improve the quality. They just can't have cars parked on the lot where oil, antifreeze can mix with the local streams. So those type of measures requiring that the surface runoff be, again, measures are taken to provide the quality of the stormwater runoff.
Okay.
So in essence, to what we looked at, this is totally different, other than where it relates just to quality of water.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that was unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 10B is consideration of an action on a request to approve city holidays for calendar year 2021. Anyone have any questions regarding this? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that also sounded unanimous there. Anyone objecting or anyone, I apologize, any nays or any abstentions there? All right, thank you. Item 10C is consideration of an action on a request for approval of the City of College Park Mayor and City Council meetings for calendar year 2021. Any questions?
Look good to me.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
There's 3 seconds. All right, I think I heard Councilman Clay first. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That was unanimous as well. Mr. Denmark?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. I actually wanted to discuss one thing with the Mayor and Council this evening. We were, based on a conversation at the last meeting, looking at the city charter. We had talked about it in the context of term limits, and I'm preparing something to deliver to the Mayor and Council that specifically discusses the term limits issue. But as you may recall, I suggested that while we were under the hood, so to speak, doing a charter amendment as it relates to term limit, that we kind of fix some other things that needed to be fixed. And so I tasked Danielle Matricardi in my office, a very capable attorney, with looking at not a comprehensive rewrite, nothing that ambitious, but something simple, things that are clearly problematic, that need to be addressed while we're addressing this issue as it relates to term limit. And it was probably a lot more than we anticipated. And so if at the pleasure of the Mayor and Council, I could just do a report that says we think that A, B, C, and D need to be fixed. Or I can, we could talk about it at a work session, whatever is the pleasure of the Mayor and Council. But what I wanted to just make you aware of tonight is that when we looked under the hood, there was more that we recommend being fixed than we initially thought. And I think it may require the Mayor and Council to kind of think about it a little bit I'm going to definitely prepare something in writing for your consideration, and that may be sufficient, or that may cause you to say, well, let's talk about it in a work session to kind of do a deeper dive into this. So I guess once I give you what I plan to give you in writing, then you can give us direction going forward.
When would you anticipate that you'd be able to have that to us?
Before the next meeting, and I know we're running out of meetings in 2020,
We
but it'll
are.
be before. Yes, ma'am. But it'll be before the next meeting.
Okay. So I just wanted to, if we could get that as far ahead of time as possible, then we may be able to make the determination whether or not it needs to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was my thought. If we could, I mean, is it possible to get it by the end of the week so we could have a sense? Or
If I said yes, Danielle would flip out. I mean, we will.
Early next week?
Early next week is probably more doable. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, then we will look forward to that and make a determination about how we move forward. Anything else?
Nothing else, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Next is the city manager's report. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So above and beyond the rudimentary delinquent property taxpayers report and debt for utility customer accounts, we are presenting an opportunity for Mayor and City Council to consider appointments for the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. As reported this past Friday's information letter, we are involved in a time frame to take the City of College Park into early fall 2021 for the necessary 5-year comprehensive plan update. The last time the City of College Park had been involved in a comprehensive planning update 5 years back, the Planning Commission essentially served as the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. Michelle Alexander and I, we've discussed a couple ideas along those lines, as well as to perhaps ask Mayor and City Council to consider appointments from your individual wards or some other approach that you may wish to consider so that we can make arrangements accordingly. With that, I'd like to ask Michelle Alexander to please be available to talk about other specific ideas in this regard. Nevertheless, this is an opportunity to proceed as outlined.
Anyone have any questions, comments?
When do you, if we are going to have appointees from each member of mayor and council, when would you like to have those names?
It would be great if that can be accomplished via the December 7th meeting. So look at tonight as an opportunity to introduce the topic. And if you can assemble thoughts and considerations over the next couple of weeks, we can have this matter before you at the regular meeting of December 7th, enabling an opportunity for formal appointment. Again, it can come about via the specific appointments of individual people or a combination of Planning Commission and others to participate as well. So the interest this evening is to offer an introductory commentary about the prospect, enabling you all to offer direction formally during the December 7th regular meeting.
Well, if we're talking about appointees in addition to the Planning Commission, I can give you a name tonight.
Are we talking, the way I see it, it looks like only the Planning Commission chair would serve, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So this
All
is a proposal for this time to have the chair and then representatives from a set of other key organizations. And then you, each of you identify who you wish. And then the thought is that the chair would come to each of the committee meetings, but then report back regularly to the Planning Commission, right? And solicit from their membership. And then similarly, I wanted to point out that last time you appointed a committee, all of the leadership, all of those civic groups will be engaged as well. We'll still work with them. The only difference was instead of having them on a committee that would meet on a regular basis, it kind of lessens their commitment or requirement, and yet we'll still make sure we work with them to properly engage them. But as you wish, it's a proposal.
So it sounds like what you're asking us to say is, do we have consensus or approval or what have you of the list of representatives that you have here? The Planning Commission chair, somebody from VITA, somebody from Main Street, or the Main Street chair or representative, et cetera, right?
Correct. Correct. And then all of your, as you deliberate who each of your individual appointment is, then we'd consider all the names in the hat when we come back to you in December on the 7th for approval of the whole list. And others that occur to you, certainly there's maybe additional representatives, for example, Aerotropolis, maybe you want to see an Aerotropolis representative. So pulling together the list, we'll collect it all, bring it back to you consolidated.
I think the list looks good to me. The various representatives may think of something else. I don't know about anybody else.
All right. Well, we've got time to think about it. So if anyone has anything else to say, otherwise we'll keep on moving in the city manager's report.
So above and beyond what we've just discussed, as well as the property taxpayers and the utility customer accounts, I would also like to briefly mention the fact that normally the city of College Park would have the traditional holiday light up night, which would occur 2 weeks from today, Monday, November 30th. So Michelle Johnson and I were back and forth discussing a couple of ways in which we can host that event safely, notably in the context of the fact that there is direction underway to not host this year's annual holiday parade. So that's the only other activity that typically would involve a public gathering of sorts here at the municipal complex campus. So my interest this evening is to briefly ascertain any thoughts, interests, or concerns you may have as an elected body so that we can offer direction accordingly. So if you would, please.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. We're trying to look at other options that we could possibly do as far as, gatherings, if we wanted to do some sort of a virtual light up. That's something we've discussed, that we could do pre-recorded, some entertainment prior, and then have Mayor and Council be there for a light up for at 7:30, but not have our typical gathering with hot cocoa and cookies and things like that. Or if we wanted to look at canceling like we had done for the parade due to gatherings and bringing people in. So those were some of the options that we were looking at. So we're just kind of looking for guidance on how everybody feels for that.
Gentlemen. Okay. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like we can. Oh, go ahead, Councilman Allen.
I was going to say, how many people normally show up for this event? Do we have any idea? I haven't.
Lots of children. So it would be, it's typically a large gathering and they are close together.
I hate to say it, but it's a large gathering and numbers are getting worse. I would be inclined to postpone it, or not postpone it, but just cancel it for this year. And
yeah, I can tell you if there is a large gathering, just like I wasn't at the Rekindle Main Street concert the other night, I won't be at this one. It'll be the first one I miss, but I just am not going to take the risk of getting into a large gathering.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's 2 no's. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. I'm assuming that's 2 no's. Yep. Okay. All right. Councilman Taylor, Councilman Gay, what do you think?
I definitely agree. I think, we need to do something with all the cases that's going on. I think we should cancel it also.
Councilman Gay?
Well, my answer is a little bit going away from the real question. Michelle, I would like to see us invest in better Christmas decoration. I mean, even if we just this year, well, maybe next year, but it's just starting to really get.
Yes, we've been discussing trying to, in fact, I've had a conversation with Terrence, but based on budget constraints this year, I've picked out a beautiful tree and was working possibly with Councilman Allen's wife on getting committees together to look at new decorations for the years to come. So I agree 100% with you, but I think that's going to have to be put off until a better time for that.
All right. What do you think about the actual lighting, Councilman Gay?
I'm on the fence, actually. I mean, I've gone to a lot of events that, are, less safe than what this event is. I just think it depends on, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I like when the lady, Miss Claus, always come out the truck. That kind of kicked me off for the year. Maybe we could do something with her. And like you said, maybe broadcast it on the city's website, on those electronic boards. Let her come in and maybe she could do a robocall with our way we can call citywide and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. But we do need to still, honor the holiday season in some way.
Well, that Councilman Gay, that's a good idea. What if we filmed Ms. Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus coming in on the truck? We could do that. Wouldn't have anybody there. Wouldn't have to have a crowd. We could film that. We could have a virtual meeting. And we could have the actual turning on of the lights at the virtual meeting. And then, and so it's partly pre-recorded, partly virtual meeting, and the mayor flips the switch like the mayor always flips the switch during the virtual meeting.
That was our plan to move forward. If it wasn't going to be an in-person, we could have pre-recorded singing, dancing, kind of get into the holiday spirit and run the video, and then have council or whoever would like to be there to flip the switch. I think that's what Jerisha, our program coordinator, was kind of looking towards for a virtual scenario. It would be something new for us, which I think we could do. But it is an opportunity at least to see, for the public to see Mr. and Mrs. Claus in the city of College Park.
I've got no problem with that.
Does that work for everyone? All right, I'm seeing head nods, and that seems to be the consensus. So let's go in that direction, and we will have a modified celebration, but we will still find a way to usher in the season.
Sounds fabulous.
That's great.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Nothing further, ma'am. Unless there are any further questions, I yield at this time. So thank you.
Okay, any questions on items 12B or 12C?
I got my questions answered.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Moving on. We got the report of mayor and council, and I usually go either 1 through 4 or 4 through 1. I am going to start with Councilman Allen tonight.
First of all, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Second of all, I'd like to say, our businesses are really trying hard out there. Get out, if you get out, shop local, help our local businesses out. They're all in need, so do that. The last thing, we've talked about budgets and reducing not payroll a little bit, but reducing the spending we have around here. And I just wonder what it would take if the mayor and council took a slight cut in pay. What would, Winston, I don't know what would be entailed if we did that, or do we need to do it voluntarily and just do a little bit, or how does that, do we have to change the bylaws?
I mean, Mr. Denmark, our salary is set by the ordinance, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Your salary is set by ordinance. So you could by ordinance, obviously adjust that. There's a state law that relates to how you would increase the salary of council persons. There's a whole complicated process for doing that, which is not what we're talking about here. I don't think anybody ever contemplated a process for reducing your salary, even for a temporary basis. For instance, if you said you would reduce your salary for 6 months or whatever the case might be, I think you could do that by a simple amendment to the ordinance without having to go through the cumbersome process that exists for raising the salaries of council persons.
But what if, let's just say, what if I wanted to reduce my salary, you know, just a little bit or whatever? Would I have to go through that, or could I just go to Althea and have them change my, for the next, say, 6 months or whatever? How can you do that?
So I think it would be a very simple matter of I don't see there would be any legal problem with an individual council member or individual elected official voluntarily electing to have his or her salary reduced for a period of time. I think you could do that. And I don't think it even requires action of the mayor and council to accomplish it. I think on an individual basis, you could do that at your leisure.
That would just be an administrative matter.
Yes, ma'am. An administrative matter between the city staff and that individual elected official.
Okay. I
right.
just wondered how that worked. Okay. That's all I had.
All right. Councilman Gay?
Okay, great. Well, I can tell you I have about 7 things, and I don't want to kill the mood because it's been a very good night for all, and everybody's been very respectful of each other. But I do have a few things. The speed humps, can the chief give us an update? I keep continuing to get calls. Now I got a call from the school, and Chief, are you on the line? Chief Williford?
Yes, sir, I'm on the line. So the speed humps are still in process.
I mean, what does that mean? Can you be more specific?
Yes, sir. Well, they're in line to be produced. We're waiting on the production of those things when they're
okay.
Fall in line when they get the orders, and they're manufactured up in New York and they're under COVID restrictions. So
yeah,
getting a timetable pushed back.
Okay, well, I just needed to give the callers an answer. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The second one I have is the BIDA agenda. Not tonight, but I would like to discuss how that agenda can be more in line with the city council agenda. Reason being is because when I went on the website to at least go on the public part of the agenda, it wasn't on the website. And I called the communications director, and he felt that that's provided by economic development, but it wasn't on the agenda. And I wish that there could be a public comment, just so maybe Winston or economic development, if we could just maybe look at a way to make BIDA more transparent, if it can kind of mimic the council meeting, especially now that we're on Zoom. Amen. Everybody, is that cool? Artie,
I'm here.
You there?
Yes, I'm here. I can speak with the BIDA chair lady. In the bylaws for BIDA, we have an agenda format, which does not have a section that provides audience to the public, but the BIDA chairperson can elect to have a portion of the agenda set aside for public comment, but that's at the leadership of the BIDA chairperson. So we can discuss that with her.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, in that I appointed her, maybe we'll be like-minded in that regard. This third thing I have, moving on quickly, is tractor trailers. Now, I know why I'm bringing that up tonight is because if you go to Washington Road tomorrow, anyone, if you go to Washington Road in Camp Creek, which is actually East Point, Congress member Stephen Gordon's ward, you can see about 7 tractor trailers parked in what is a parking fly that's no longer in existence. But the point I'm making, they're now starting to park there for overnight stay. And I've asked her to look at it from an ordinance standpoint of view. I'm waiting to hear back from her or Josh. And if you go on Old National, you're going to see tractor trailers now parked all in the Service Merchandise Plaza. And then they're not just getting food. I mean, they may be getting food, but it appears that it's becoming a stopover. the 18 acres tractor trailers. All I'm saying is that we are in a close proximity to the airport. This is something that we have to learn to live with, but we have to put in measures of balance because they come down White City Road. I've gotten calls from residents who said, look, Councilman gave the truck side. So all I'm saying is as we put developments into our city, we got to understand that these are very large trucks. Roosevelt Highway is a 2-lane highway. And now with the Amazon trucks that we allowed them to park on Sullivan Road. Now that's like 2,000, that's almost 2,000 Amazon trucks. But there's still a community over here in Ward 2 and 4. And so we have to be mindful. And then you're gonna see them now coming up Main Street. I mean, we can't avoid trucks, they gotta go, but we have to put in measures and make that part of our strategic plan. The third one I got is director search. I would like for us to seriously moving forward as a city, as we develop strategic plans, if we have great new leadership, we have change, we have people that are ambitious. I would like for us to look at using a search for all of our directors. I personally, I ran a occupational healthcare practice for about 15 years, and I hired medical doctors, healthcare administrators, you name it. So my point is, it makes a difference when you bring people to your organization that has skill sets. They can bring perspectives because they've been in other cities. I love the fact that we're comfortable with our co-workers who have been here for some time and put them in these positions, but I don't want us to lose the opportunity to seek other talents that's out there to bring new skills and leadership and ideas to our organization. So I'm asking that before any other directors are hired or chiefs or what have you, we do our best to make sure that we give other well-qualified individuals the opportunity to show that they can bring value to our city. I think that's the last one, Mayor. The final one is Hugh can talk a little bit about the purple lights. I was going down Camp Creek. I said, the city is turning purple. It's a nice look, but can you explain a little bit, Hugh, about what's going on with the purple light?
I sure can, and that's a good question. These lights are defective and they're going to be replaced. Basically, the phosphorus coating on the lighting is breaking down after about 2 years. So, in fact, I talked to the company we bought them from, and they're going to actually consider hiring our contractor, paying them to go out and replace them. It's just not us, it's the city of Marietta too. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have them all replaced. We think it's less than another 50. It was a couple of patches, but we didn't want to replace them ourselves, so that we got the company to pay for the cost.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilman Clay?
Yeah, I have several. One, I don't know what we can do about it, but our mail service is terrible. And when I say our, I'm talking about my side of Lyle Avenue. I can't speak for other parts of the city, but I can tell you that last week, because we are on the even side of the street, the mail truck goes out to the west and then comes back to the east on the even side of the street. But there are nights it never comes back. There are nights when we don't get our mail till 10:30. And last week in particular, there were Friday and Saturday night, no, I mean, the week before last, November 6 and 7, we got no mail. As far as I know, other people on our side of the street, and I don't know how far going back toward Main Street it occurs, but they didn't get mail. Last week, there were a couple nights that we didn't get mail again. On the Monday following the 6th and 7th, which would have been the 9th, went out and we found mail in our box. And I thought, well, that's awfully unusual because the mail truck normally doesn't get here till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Well, I brought the mail in and guess what? The mail truck came by later that night. So I don't know how that mail got mysteriously into our box. We didn't have a Sunday delivery. I'm just giving that as an example. In the past, Councilman Wyatt had brought it to the attention of the post office. We have had the postmaster come to council meetings. I can't believe that it is only our street that's having this problem, but so I'd kind of like to hear from other council person. Maybe they're just, it's our particular mails.
No, it's happening over here as well. We have gotten mail, as late as 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night on some occasions. Again, some occasions not even being delivered. And this time of year, you get a lot of stuff in the mail, but I know my in-laws that live over in your ward on this side on Mercer have had the same problem as well.
Well, I was going to say it's good to hear. It's not good to hear, but it's good to hear that it's not just our problem here, that it's not a mail carrier, it's a problem with the system. And that might be something that we could bring to the attention of the Postal Authority.
I'm happy to do that if you'd like, on behalf of everyone.
I think that I have a comment. I was at Garby Road. I don't know if y'all mail is out of Garby. Do you know if your mail is out of the Garby Road station, Councilman Clay?
I don't know, Councilman Gay.
I think it is. I think ours comes out of Godby. Our guy that delivers comes out of Godby.
If it's out of Godby, I was there helping a constituent get her to change her address from out of town. I stood in the line to get in there about 30 minutes. I called one of my buddies that work down on Crown Road, down the hall from the postmaster. He told me that they staff with COVID. They don't have enough drivers. In fact, it's so bad, they got drivers doing overtime. That's why you got your mail at an time. They're coming in doing your mail before they go on their route. So the mayor probably do need to talk with the postal master over our area, but it's a staffing and COVID situation.
One thing I would mention, that's good to know. We had problems long before COVID, not this bad. So I think COVID is making it worse, but I can't remember, probably 70 to 80% of the mail deliveries last year were past 6 o'clock, maybe past 7 or 8 o'clock even. So it was not uncommon last summer, a year ago, to have late mail deliveries. And COVID definitely is making it worse. It affects everybody. Okay, the one thing I had considered was, would it be beneficial to write a letter to our senators, our Republican senators who are up for re-election?
They seem a little busy right now with the election itself,
But they are. Anyhow, let me move on to my next item. I've gotten a couple messages lately from people who want to pay their bills online. And I know we have a technical issue. Althea, I see, is on the call. Do we have any idea when they're going to get the technical issue resolved?
I am not sure. I'm not sure. I've received biweekly updates from the IT department. They're still working on the technical issue, but customers can still pay their bill online. However, they cannot view their billing history, but they are able to pay their bills online.
They are able to pay them,
Yes, sir.
but they're not able to see their history.
Exactly.
I wonder if people understand that. I'll have to go back and check the messages that I've got, because I was under the impression they couldn't do anything, and they may have just, I may be mistaken. It may have just been the billing history.
Yes, I
Well,
did speak with the gentleman today, and his was basically he was trying to see his billing history, not making, it wasn't about making a payment.
okay, well, I got another one today, and I'll have to go back and double check that. There was a lot of rush before council meeting, of course, and I didn't, I may have missed that.
Well, just
Okay.
email it to me and we can contact the customer and walk them through.
Well, that'd be great. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Thank you. And my last item, going back to the purple lights for a starter. We're going to replace all of those lights, right? Not just the ones that are currently purple, but just wholesale replace all the ones that had this type of coating.
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay, because it's not going to get better with time. If considering the process that you described, eventually that coating's going to fail, maybe in another year or what have you.
Yeah, out of the 2,400 lights, we have 650 were from that company.
Yeah, okay. And associated with that, for Michael Hicks, we need to be able to add categories to the iNotify application. It's a great app. I've launched probably about 6 or 7 issues now, but one of them needs to be, you've got one for traffic lights. You need to have one for reporting things like street lights that are out. But more than that, we need a mechanism for suggesting new categories or adding new categories. At least you do for me, because I'm going to keep reporting things, and as I see them, and I know Councilman Gay is big on this issue as well, and I'm sure he can probably suggest some new categories as time goes on. So is there a mechanism for doing that? Just send you an email, which is what I've done, I guess, but.
Yes, sir. Send them to me and we can create those. I just haven't done them yet. I think you mentioned this to me like the last meeting about adding new categories. I haven't done it, so this is certainly on my plate. But send me those emails and we can create them.
Okay, but send them to you. That's the way to get it done. Okay,
Yes, send them
that's
to
all
me.
I have, Mayor.
We'll do it.
All right, thank you. Councilman Taylor?
Yes, I want to thank Councilman Allen for the coat that he donated. And I want to try to do a coat drive, because there's a lot of people in our neighborhoods throughout College Park that's really in need of coats, kids and everybody. And I just want to get everybody to understand we got to go out and vote. The runoffs in every department, we just got to get out and vote in January. That's all I have.
All right, and we also have to get out and vote in December.
Yeah.
Which was my number 3, but since you started there, I'm gonna go and make it my number 1. Then we have a December 1st runoff for parts of our city that are in Senate District 39, and also the 5th Congressional District, the runoff for the remaining time in the late Congressman Lewis's term. So those 2 races are happening on December 1st. So make sure that you put that on your calendar, because I know we also have to vote in January as well. So just keep that in mind. I wanted to thank the Main Street merchants. I wanted to thank Renee Coakley, Grace McPhillips, all of the Recreation and Cultural Affairs Department for all of their hard work on the Rekindle College Park program this past weekend. It was a lovely event that spanned the entire weekend, and just a great opportunity for everyone to get out safely distanced and have the opportunity to see each other and enjoy some lovely music. So, and also see some great art as well. So I just wanted to thank everyone for all of their efforts that they put toward that. And lastly, one of the things that I talked with a lot of folks about last year was restarting our neighborhood watch in a more robust way. Certainly when I moved here in the aughts, isn't that what you call the 2000, 2010? We had a more robust neighborhood watch. And so keep an eye out later on this week. We'll have a little a place on our website where you can sign up if you're interested in participating. And we're looking forward to starting things back up with folks in the beginning of 2021. So keep an eye out for that. Sign up if you're interested, because certainly the more of us that are involved, we make our community better and stronger. And it's a great way to also get to know some of your neighbors as well. That is all I have. And I think our next item is to approve our executive session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. And I believe that that is the last thing on our agenda. So I hope everyone has a great night, wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will see you back in December. We are adjourning at 9:06 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night, everybody.
Night.